In the meantime, our next speaker, I'm going to tell you a little bit about him before we bring him up here. Turns out he lives like 2 miles from me in San Diego. His name is Charlie Silver, and he was telling me a little bit about the program that he's working on. I'll give you the brief bio first, and I'll tell you about the product he has. It's pretty fascinating. So his whole goal and the topic is bringing cryptocurrency mainstream. He's the CEO of Algebraix Data, leads the effort to develop the Algebraix platform, career entrepreneur, 30 years of experience raising capital, building successful companies. He was the CEO of realage.com. Do you remember that company? realage.com? Determined your age based upon certain characteristics, not your physical age, but actually either lower or younger. That's at least what I remember about it. But the app he showed me is an app and a currency that rewards you for actually watching advertising. So basically, they're taking advertising and the benefits out of Google's and Facebook's hands. I assume that's the big vision. Is that correct? So here's what I'll do. If you haven't done the poll already, again, go ahead, enter your name, and what I'll do is I'll actually do the poll right after we're done. That'll give you a chance to get in there. So it's pollev.com/MAK. We'll give away the book. And then as soon as we're done, again, I'll give away the book, and I'll also put the poll up so you can submit your questions for Charlie as well. So you ready to rock and roll? All right. So let's give Charlie Silver a big round of applause. Take it away, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the introduction, and thank you for listening. Besides building a .com company called RealAge, which, by the way, had 60 million users with an average of 300 data points each. You may know Mehmet Oz, Dr. Oz on television. He was my partner. He came out of RealAge and ultimately was on Oprah, et cetera, et cetera. So I know something about building mass audiences. Something else I want to share with you is I spent the earliest part of my career, I was a Senate staffer. I worked for a very liberal senator, Carl Levin, in Washington, D.C. for several years, and I got to know how Washington works, and it changed my career forever. One other thing, and the previous speaker mentioned ETFs. I'm also the co-founder of a company called Reality Shares, which is a publicly traded ETF provider, and you may have seen 2 weeks ago the first ETFs in the blockchain space, the BLCN. I'm a co-founder of that company, and I'm proud to say that we were the first issuer of a blockchain ETF that has gone crazy. And in 3 weeks, we have 160 million under management, and we hope to get to $1 billion under management by the end of the year. So just to give you a little background on me. So Algebraix is all about bringing cryptocurrency mainstream. As we know, as all the speakers have talked about, crypto is still early. I mean, even though it's been around for 7, 8 years, we are still in the early stages. So the fact that you can't get good statistics, do your research, try and find out how many people own cryptocurrency. It is very, very difficult to get good stats. And that alone tells you that we're immature. Because imagine in financial services, I mean, there are thousands of companies producing statistics about everything imaginable. How many shares are traded, who owns what the derivatives are, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's massive statistics. In crypto, it doesn't really exist. So therein lies a business opportunity, is someone amassing those stats. And one thing we do know is that less than 4% of wallets in the world own 96% of the Bitcoin. That has been verified, or over 96% of the Bitcoin. So crypto is not widely dispersed. It's still held by a very, very narrow group of people. Now let's take a look at it in terms of a global audience. This graph is very interesting. The big blue bar is how many people own a smartphone or use a smartphone globally. It's 2.31 billion. That's a mature audience. The bottom orange bar is the number of active crypto wallets, and to the best that I was able to find. And at the end of 2017, even though there are 22 million active crypto wallets, there may be up to 45 million wallets out there, but only 22 million have any activity on it. So if you think about this on a global basis, we are very, very early. When those two bars are equivalent, when everybody's holding crypto on their mobile phone, I mean, I think that's the vision that many of the speakers and we all have. That's when we know we're hitting it mainstream. Who's ever read a book called Crossing the Chasm by Jeffrey Moore? It was written in the 1980s. Has anyone read that book? Well, if you're interested in marketing, particularly technology marketing, it is the Bible. It was written 40 years ago, but all of its principles hold true. There's this thing called the technology adoption life cycle, and it's shown in this curve. On the far left is what happens when a new product comes to market. It's embraced by the innovators, the techno geeks, the people that love complexity. They love playing around. The complexity doesn't bother them, as in fact, it excites them. And that's where we were with Bitcoin, in 2010, 11, 12, 13. The last 3 years, we get to this stage called the early adopters. Now it's gotten beyond the real geeky types into people that are interested in new products, new technology. I put us where that dot is on that curve, where we're past the innovators and we're into the early adopters. Now the chasm is this space. I mean, think about you're going on a hike in the Grand Canyon and you got to cross the canyon. Well, it's tough to do. And that's where most technology products fail, going from early adopters to mainstream. And if you haven't read that book, I highly recommend it, called Crossing the Chasm by Jeffrey Moore. So this is where most technology companies fail, is crossing that gully, that chasm, to get to mainstream adopters. And that's where we are now. We have not yet begun to cross that chasm. And what's going to do it? What's going to get us there? So one thing we know, that startups are going to do it. It's not going to happen by big companies. It's going to happen by startups. All the companies that we're participating in with today, one of them are going to, or several of them are going to break out to bring cryptocurrency mainstream. Just like the dot-com era. I mean, it wasn't Disney, IBM, Intel, Microsoft that brought the internet to everybody, but it were the startups. Amazon, Google, Yahoo, Facebook. They were startups. In the late 90s, these were startup companies. I mean, the big established companies are not the ones that are going to bring new crypto mainstream. So if a startup's going to do it, let's talk about what are the biggest contributing factors to make a startup successful. Well, who thinks it's capital? Being properly capitalized. All right, come on, raise your hand. Let's participate. Well, it's not capital. And by the way, these factors are academically studied. Bill Gross from Idea Lab, that you may be familiar with, has written an enormous number of papers on this. He's studied it across 700 to 800 companies. What really contributes to success? What makes a startup break out? Well, who thinks it's management? People. In Silicon Valley, they say there's 3 things that count in making an investment. People, people, people. Who thinks it's people? No, it's not people. Well, then it must be technology. Who's got the best technology? Who thinks it's the best technology? Well, no, it's not technology. So at the end of the day, it must be marketing, right? Who thinks it's marketing? No, it's not marketing either. So what is the one, if you had to identify one contributing factor to make a startup really successful, Amazon, Google, Facebook, these companies, what did they have That's right, it's timing. Timing is really the most important factor in having a startup breakout. That is, if you don't have that, you could have the most money in the bank, the best people, the best marketing, the best technology, but if you don't have the right product at the right time, forget about it. So for all of us that are running startups, I think timing is pretty damn good for this industry. So let's talk about the timing. What are the big trends? Well, we all know about decentralization. I mean, Bitcoin, that paper, the original Satoshi Nakamoto paper, is about the most brilliant thing I've ever read. I mean, about a decentralized network. I mean, in total contrast to the world that we live in with central banking, which is about the most ridiculous thing you've ever... If you were from Mars and someone came down and said there are 7 people that sit in the room and decide the price of the world's most important commodity, you'd go, what kind of crazy world is this? So the notion of centralization, certainly in terms of the control of the world's most important commodity, to decentralization, we know this trend is real. The other big trend is the distrust of institutions. Now, you may be sitting there and go, well, I don't know about that. Well, let's look at the most important thing that's happened over the last year and a half, the election of Donald Trump. How the hell did this happen? I mean, whether you agree with him or disagree with him, this is a guy who came out of nowhere to beat 17 establishment Republicans and then beat the most establishment Democrat. And who was he? He was a guy who was smart enough to figure out that just talk against the establishment. And it didn't matter if it was foreign policy, domestic policy, immigration, it doesn't matter. He came out, and he didn't really believe it, but he just knew that if we talk against the status quo, I'm gonna win. And he did. In every position, and he never really believed anything, but he just came out against the status quo on everything, and he got elected. That's how he got elected. It was the distrust of institutions. People on the street don't trust government, they don't trust big business, and this guy came out against it. So when you think about how did that happen, that's why, that's the big trend, the distrust of big institutions. Then the other big trend is cryptocurrencies being accepted. I mean, in Japan, 280,000 retailers accept Bitcoin. That's huge. It's happening. I mean, we all know it's happening. It's happening in the US slower than it is in Asia. It's happening in South America and other places in the third world faster. I mean, the US still has the dollar, which is the best looking horse in the glue factory. But cryptocurrency is being accepted. And so the next big trend is data exploitation. This is huge. You can't pick up a newspaper or a magazine and read about the creepiness of Google or Facebook, how they have all the data, how the NSA and the KGB and the da-da-da-da, they're all in there looking at this data. It's a big trend change that I think we've seen peak Google, peak Facebook in terms of their ability to take every piece of information about you and exploit it for their benefit. That's what's happening. And I think we've hit that peak, and that data exploitation. Remember, it's your data, but they're the ones that exploit it and make all the money. These companies, Google and Facebook, are the, I don't know, Google's got a 700 billion market cap, Facebook 550 billion. I mean, that's incredible. And how did they do it? It's off your data. These guys are smart. I mean, we are in the data economy. Companies live and die by their ability to use data, manage it and analyze it. And Google and Facebook are the best. And by the way, every company in every industry that is successful is successful because they've adopted to this data economy. They know how to learn from data to make decisions. Humans are terrible at making decisions. Data doesn't lie. So who writes the better software, the better algorithms, has the best machine learning tools? These are the guys that win it, that are winning. So again, there's a moral question out there. Who owns it? Well, we're building a whole business about the premise that you own it. Every one of you own your data. Who's heard of GDPR? Has anyone heard of GDPR? Well, if you haven't, you need to read about it because it is going to affect these large, massive companies. GDPR stands for General Data Protection Regulation. It is being established in the EU. It starts in May. What it says is that every company that uses individual data to earn revenue has to notify that individual each and every time their data is used in a revenue occurring activity. It's crazy. I mean, and by the way, I'm not in favor of big regulation, but it's an EU grab, a tax grab against these mammoth companies, and they're going to have to pay 4% of their global revenue to the EU. So that's billions of dollars of fines. Billions of dollars of fines because they can't comply. So what is this guy going to do? What is he going to do about GDPR and this peak notion that data can no longer be exploited to their benefit? Anybody have an idea what he's going to do? Well, I'll tell you what he's going to do. That's what he's going to do. He's selling his stock, and he's been selling his stock quite since last fall, and he's selling quite a bit of it because the Facebook business model has hit its peak. So back to the original premise. How do we cross this chasm to get the majority of people in the world owning cryptocurrency? Well, first, you gotta delight customers. I mean, Google is a brilliant company. I mean, think about it. I mean, I was on AOL and CompuServe and all these silly services, and then Google came out. It was the gateway to the internet. That's it, that's Google. I mean, Facebook, I mean, they did the same thing. Brilliant. You've got to delight customers. You've got to make it this easy. And this is where we are today. I mean, anybody who's traded crypto, I mean, again, for the early adopters and the innovators, it's not that hard. People don't think it's a big deal. But for the Uber driver and people that aren't really, technically savvy, it's difficult and scary. So, the next thing to cross this chasm is the companies that are going to do it are going to focus on a niche. Who remembers when Amazon was the world's biggest bookstore? They had to succeed at something before they conquered the world. I mean, the picture on the right is a picture from Normandy. Eisenhower knew they had to take the beach before they took the continent. And that's what a great company has to do. They have to focus on a niche before they can take it mainstream. You've also got to deal with the innovators. Going back to that crossing the chasm, to get across that chasm, you've got to bring those innovators with you. They've got to pass the baton. They've got to endorse you. You can't forget about them. You can't just go to people who don't know anything without the endorsement of the original innovators and early adopters. And of course, the only way anything goes viral is word of mouth. I mean, it's just as simple as that. You've got to have a great product, it's got to be clear, understandable, and it's got to delight people. So, having set this all up, Algebraix, my company, and please come visit our booth, is set up to do all of those things. We're creating a personal vault on your mobile phone. You download the app, you enter in data as much as you like. The more data you enter, the more valuable you are as a target, and the more you can make money. The more data you have, the more you can earn. Simple as that. The more you put in your career data, what you want to buy, where you live, how much money you make, et cetera, the more data you have, you put into this personal vault that will be very secure, the more valuable you are to advertisers. By downloading the app, the app itself will have a wallet. The first 10 million people who download this app are going to get 500 to 1,000 ALX tokens. That's how people are going to get cryptocurrency. It's going to be as simple as downloading the app. You enter in some data, you've earned crypto. We're going to focus on a niche, which is entertainment. We're going to have the biggest movie companies, television companies, music producers promoting their products on this app. And listen to this song, earn 50 tokens. Watch this movie trailer, earn 100 tokens. Share it, earn another 20 tokens. We think this is going to bring crypto to everybody. This is true permission marketing. Who read a book by Seth Godin called Permission Marketing? Again, in the late 90s, a book about if you ask a potential client for permission to have a conversation, they're much more likely to engage. And that's what this is all about, true permission versus all the other digital advertising, which is interruption marketing. You're interrupted. You're watching TV, you're interrupted. You're reading an article, you're interrupted. Okay, we're done with interruption. Start giving advertisers permission to talk to you, and now they're going to compensate you in order to receive that permission. When you do this permission thing, all it does is facilitate trust. And that's really what this blockchain crypto thing is all about. I mean, you've heard the term the trust layer of the internet. It really is all about trust. Screw trusting 7 people sitting around a room deciding what the price of money is and how much should be supplied. No, Bitcoin tells you exactly how much there is, how it gets created, when it gets created. It's all about trust. I mean, our token will be the exact same thing. It's going to be a limited supply. You'll be able to see exactly how it's created and how it's distributed. It's all about trust. And that trust is the mantra of our business about facilitating this trust between an advertiser and a consumer. So a little bit more about our company. We have been a deep technology company for years. There's been $40 million invested in the equity. It's been an R&D company. It's called Algebraix because what we have been working on is how data gets represented mathematically. How take any data in any format and it has a mathematical structure. It's huge. And when it's applied, it makes things scale. And we've proved it out in relational databases and graph databases. And now we're proving it out on the blockchain. We have 9 patents about how data gets represented mathematically. They are issued, and we have another at least 20 in the works. But our mathematics is open. I mean, it's open source. Come to our booth, get the book if you're interested in math. We are about to issue our token. We have been raising money in a pre-sale. We are doing a SAFT, a simple agreement for future tokens. We are not doing an ICO. We're taking money from accredited investors only. And then the token will get distributed through this, when people download the app. So please visit algebraix.io, sign up. Our pre-sale is still going on. You'll get more information. And, you know, we hope to be the company that can really bring cryptocurrency mainstream. So thank you very much.
All right, let's give him a hand. Nice job, Charlie. Great job.
We got time for questions.
Yeah. Any questions? We've got a couple minutes. Yeah, go for it.
Tell me more about that shaft.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
No, tell me more about the shaft. You said it's not...
Oh, the SAFT.
Right.
Yeah, the SAFT, again, it's a simple agreement for future tokens. It's essentially a security. We are bending over backwards to comply with securities laws. It's under Reg D 506C. It is a security when you purchase tokens through a SAFT. And so you get a contract for tokens at a discount. And then when we issue the tokens, you get the tokens. 6 months will be immediately tradable, and then half of the tokens are immediately tradable, and half will be locked up for 6 months.
Yeah, it's a chicken and egg problem, I see for you guys. I mean, when you've got 1 million customers giving permission to see ads, you're going to have 1 million companies begging to show their ads on your site. But when you first start up and you've got 10 of us willing to watch them and no companies willing to spend money to advertise to those 10 people because there's nothing in it for them, how do you overcome this?
Well, a good question. That's a really good question. We talk about it every day. We're going to incentivize people, the first several million, earn cryptocurrency by downloading the app. As simple as that. Most people don't have wallets. They don't have crypto. We're going to have to create a viral campaign that gets people excited to say, hey, I can get crypto. Essentially, we're allowing everybody to be a crypto miner with their mobile phone. That's what it is. And we think that's an exciting idea. And when you combine that with you earn more crypto by getting entertained. We're going to be partnering with the biggest television companies, moving companies, and we're going to essentially allow them to advertise for free until we get to 10 million users or so. So
my question is, I don't mind being interrupted by an ad as long as it's something that I'm looking for anyways. So if we have, we get paid to enter in our data, but we don't, is your technology making me go ahead and, go ahead and find or do an action to get paid? It's not, am I getting paid by the data or am I getting paid by the action?
You're getting paid by the action. You enter in the data and then you become a target. So an advertiser says, here, I want to talk to you. I'm going to offer you 100 ALX tokens. Watch my ad. And so you watch the ad, the tokens go into your wallet.
Okay, so that's, see, I see that as a problem because I'm not going out to find an ad. I'm going out to find something that I'm interested in, and then the ad pops up, and if I'm interested in it, then I'm going to watch it. Do I get paid for that too, or do I have to go to your site?
Well, first, okay, let me make a few things clear. One, we're not on the internet. We're creating our own network on the smartphone. So it will be on an app on your phone. You'll be able to enter in what I want to purchase. I'm looking for an SUV, a Nissan SUV. Like you type that into Google, the local dealer may send you, hey, here's 100 tokens, come in for a test drive. So that's the kind of thing. And if you don't want to earn tokens, you don't participate. I mean, it's as simple as that.
All right, let's give him a hand. Charlie Silver, one more time. Awesome job.
Thank you.
Great job. All right. So we're going to take a 10-minute break in a second, but first, and also I'll give you a couple quick announcements who we've got lined up next. I know if you've been looking at this, schedule's been a little bit out of whack. It just happens with some speakers the way it happens. Our next speaker is Bill Barrett. Then we have Mark Lurie. And then someone very special you may have heard before is in the area. You may have heard some rumors. Maybe they're true. Maybe they're true. So you'll know about when that person's about to be here. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink, know what I mean. So, okay, so I'm about to give away this encyclopedia. Anyone who entered is eligible when we did the last poll. So the question is, I just need a number between 1 and 244. Just shout it out. 17. All right, that's easy. 10. And it is Brenda Gray in the audience? Brenda Gray? If you're not here, you missed out. Is Brenda Gray here? Another number. 13. All right, that's easy too. Mark Payanov? Mark Payanov, are you here? Going once, going twice? All right, another one. Number 127. Alex Zutre. Alex is the winner. Come on up here. You're the first winner of the Almost the Price is Right. The encyclopedia is right. There you go, brother. Congratulations. So here's what we're going to do, ladies and gentlemen. Nice job. We're going to resume at 11:20. That's when our next speaker is going to be here. So take an 11-minute break. Be here sharp. Who knows? There may be more prizes we're going to be giving away. So 11:20, we're going to resume with Bill Barrett.